have already presented arguments in this course for defending that, to many people, innovating is good. So, the question now is how to stimulate innovations? The opposite of innovating is leaving everything as it is, the status quo. We know from the laws of physics that inertia is the resistance of a physical object to a change in its movement. If an object or someone is still, there is a resistance in making it move. Therefore, in order to stimulate movement, a pushing force or a motivation must exist. But how to stimulate this innovation pushing force? Well, one of the ways is simply recognizing that the current position is uncomfortable in at least one aspect. Translating this to equivalent terms, one motivation for an innovation is searching for the solution of at least one problem that, once solved, makes the situation better for the innovator and for those who have the problem solved. This is the origin of many innovations. For example, for communicating through the distance, first sound signals were used, such as yells or drums, then visual signals, such as smoke or flags. But the signals are effective only at short distances. So people or pigeons were used as messengers, carrying a written message. But these too were limited in time and space. So came the telegraph and later the telephone. The problem to be solved was distance communication, and this problem was minimized through the implementation of several innovations. Another way of stimulating innovation is making the current position uncomfortable deliberately. We can notice this, for example, when two companies in the same business are competing. One company may want to gain market share, and for achieving this, it proactively looks for innovations in order to differentiate itself from the competition, obtaining a more advantageous position in the eyes of the clients. Despite the fact that initially the company that looks for innovation does not have its survival threatened, it creates internal uneasiness through the adoption of ambitious targets. This, to a certain point, may stimulate innovation. A less traumatic third way of stimulating innovation is, instead of punishing inertia, rewarding new and good ideas. Companies can do that by fostering a culture of appetite for risk, because changing the status quo always has some associated risk attached. But exaggerating and rewarding innovation too much can have a dangerous collateral effect, that is, making the status quo uninteresting. A company, as an individual, must have at least partially a day-to-day routine that sustains it. And if all its efforts are concentrated on innovation, innovation itself becomes more difficult to be created due to the lack of means to support it. It will be like in a war, one army advanced very far from their base, breaking the supply line. Several battles have been lost this way. Finally, not severely punishing mistakes when one is innovating stimulates innovation. Of course, this will depend on the time and seriousness of the error, but If the fear of making mistakes is too strong, it will paralyze and it will be much easier to leave everything as it is, not taking risks and not generating innovations. We hear a lot about innovation culture, but how many people and companies are really willing to innovate? Our next video will cover the topic of innovation and fear of changes. Until then,